Welcome everyone to What the Fiction and our finale deep dive of Tale of the Nine-Tailed. Whoa. It's been a ride. It's been what, 2 months of us doing this, Nat? Like, it's crazy.
The lead up to it as well. So it's like it's been a journey.
It's been a long time in the making, and now that we're here, we're like, oh, did we make it all in one piece? Oh my goodness.
I don't know, honestly. I don't feel like I'm completely whole.
Yeah, it's been a thing these last couple of weeks, because first we had the delay, and then we had sort of very difficult episodes that focused around the plague and the COVID parallels and causing us to basically have anxiety while watching. And then we had the finale, which
you and I watched together.
Yeah,
and we got to listen to me cry in real time. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it was a lot, and I for one am very thankful that you, Nat, came along on this journey with me, and like you suggested that we do this, and I was like, yes, let's do it. And it's because it allowed me to dig into Korean folklore and mythology in such a deeper way, and I'm very, very thankful for that. Also, it really just was such a joy to experience this with you, and also the audience that has been experiencing this like all the way along. So
yeah, I'm very grateful for having you to hold my hand through this. I know that when we first found out the announcement that was happening, we were like, oh, foxes, we have to do this, or it's some way, like whether it be podcast or stream. And I'm glad that we did the streaming thing, because it's been allowing me to process my emotions week to week with a huge audience of people on Twitter and also here, and yourself, and being able to kind of like even just watch it together has been really, really helpful. So
yeah, exactly. And also we've been able to deep dive into all of the different topics and really understand the structure of the show too. With that, we are going to have an after party, which if you are watching this after the fact or listening to this on the podcast after that we post the next day, we are sorry you missed it. I think when I do live streams in the future for What the Fiction, I'm going to try to do an after party as much as I can. I think it's just a really fun way to just hang out with the people that have been able to make it all the way along and have a chat personally. So the link to the after party is in the liner notes of this episode. So all you have to do is grab it from there, and then it will disappear like some sort of Cinderella pumpkin.
It's ephemeral.
Yes, it is. It is magical in that way, so that we will have you for the after party, and then this will be nothing but a dream in a way. Woohoo. All right, let's get into this so that we can get on with the party once we're all done.
Yeah. Our PowerPoint is a mixture of interesting stuff today. So, and just a coping mechanism, I will say, for our feelings about these last 2 episodes.
Yes, because it's been a ride. So this was the final episodes 15 and 16. You Are My Destiny and the rewritten tale of the nine-tailed. Uh-huh. How are we feeling, Nat?
It's really interesting because I waited until, of course, the last episode came out to watch the last 2 together. And so I think my emotions would have been different if I would have watched them, like, per se, in order, like the way people did. I really loved episode 15, and then episode 16 pushed me into a depression spiral. And I still don't think I'm really out of it yet. So I would put myself on a 7. Between severe pain and hurts a whole lot. So
yeah, like the overall show, like minus the last episode, because I almost need to separate it. It's like
I do too.
Like minus the last episode. Like I'm at like no pain. It was a fascinating, like they got so many of the tropes. Everything paid off. Like that's what you want from a show. But then the last episode, they decided to just be like, window, rolling it down and chuck out all of the work that they had done. And then not pay off all of the things that really mattered. Yeah. In my opinion.
This is our opinion, by the way, guys. Don't take it seriously.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed the show, if you enjoyed the show, we want you to have enjoyed the show. There's just like things that you and I have talked about the whole way along, like Li Rong and like don't do this to us, please. And then the last 30 seconds, which we will get into as well later on.
I've seen so many things on Twitter where people just post that shot and are like, are you kidding me? I'm just, and then also people like, the show ended here. And then they're posting halfway through episode 16. So, I enjoyed this show overall. I'm not saying that I didn't. I thought it was a really fun ride and I enjoyed it. I just think that sometimes you don't have to check all the trope boxes. And sometimes you can surprise your audience by not being surprised. I don't know.
Yeah. And also, like, I think that there's a case for re-editing the last episode and like changing the order. Like like you could literally like cut out like chunks of what the fortune teller says and then just say you have to sacrifice something, then they cut to black and you don't know what they sacrificed, and then everybody shows up and is back. It like you could re-edit the whole thing and it would be very satisfying. Anyways, this is the daydream that I live in, my fan fiction in my head.
Fan fiction's good for us. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so we don't miss some exceptions. We missed a little bit, but part 3, we just
could have waited a little while and we would have not missed. It's just,
Yeah, like we were really on this. So Snail Bride and Shinju, the suggestions actually did pay off to do with what ended up happening. Mr. Snailbread was reincarnated, which we covered last episode, but they actually got together, which was very satisfying as well. They got to be reunited. The elders, the book guilds, their son, it actually did matter because the Imugi had taken on that visage and it was like her fatal flaw and her like Achilles heel. Killing Witch Darling, damn it.
We were right.
Yeah.
Just gonna say it. We were so right. I think a lot of people were. I don't think we're alone in that. I think as soon as everybody knew they were making those specials, they knew that, he wouldn't make it out alive. But in terms of a payoff of that sacrifice, it does definitely feel like a little bit hard to accept.
Exactly. And then will the young go to hell? Yeah.
Yeah.
Check. Woo.
Check.
Yeah. Of course.
So yeah, everybody, put your drinks up for us because we just know a lot of tropes, that's all.
Yeah. And also the show itself had a history of paying off things that they had like aligned and set up. So like in that way it was well constructed.
Yeah.
All right, on to episode 15. You Are My Destiny. Ouch forever is my category for this.
Yeah. And I mean, it's up there in one of my top episodes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It actually it has a lot of charm to it. It has a really good, I just watched it again, even though I don't think I'll ever watch 16 again fully. So, and I just was kind of amazed at what they were able to logistically pull off within that time period. I mean, even looking at your summary, which we'll get to, is just like, oh yeah, there's a lot going on here. We're wrapping up the
Yeah.
story.
And then like comparing it to how little actually happened in episode 16, it was a lot of um it was a lot of uh, you know, emotional, like just a lot of bouncing around to get up all of the ties and all of the different threads like all wrapped up, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that they were trying to make a conscientious effort to show that life moves on. For some people, maybe not, but yeah, yeah.
Yep, exactly. All right. So, You Are My Destiny, chapter 15. The Imugi comes out to save Gia from CEO. So, I mean, that was a misdirect on the end of episode 14, which we knew was going to happen. It just was very, very blatant. We didn't actually
Mhm.
sense the danger that she was in because it just felt. It didn't feel dramatic to me necessarily, even though they tried to
No,
make it that way.
yeah.
Terry and Leong make a deal over wine.
Mhm.
And he's like, I need to finish my glass. You can't leave until I'm done my glass because I don't know. It was odd.
It was odd.
Snail's bride and husband. Snail's husband connect. That
She
was
knows how to take care of a man in a sick bed. That's all I'm
Yeah,
gonna say.
she takes care of him, which is really cute. Leong shares his plan and with the sad Shinju. He's so sad. He's like, no, don't do this. Don't do this. You know.
Yeah, that was hard to watch.
Uh, Jia seeks Lirong for help, and Lirong's like, no.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because there's two people I care about in this world, and you're not in that.
Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah, fair. Leong has lunch with Lirong.
Hmm.
And Terry and Yuri, they plan the plan about going there, and Snail's bride confronts Granny because she's kind of more the like lovely granny of the show, whereas
Hmm.
Granny is actually like a force of death in the show. So, laws of nature versus laws of love was kind of the
Hmm.
confrontation that happened there.
It's the two sides of the matriarch.
Yeah, exactly. Like the one that makes you food and the one that kills you.
Hmm.
Yeah. Leong and Jia go on high school dates and get the fox stuffy, which you will notice that we've added in the lovely scarves onto our foxes because we wanted to follow suit. And I loved their little stuffies that they got. But like this goes into some of the commentary that we've had about the show is like they're not very like adult. Uh,
No, they're yeah.
yeah.
We'll talk about that in a minute, but the romance in this is very childlike,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's by design. And we talked about the Twilight influences, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. Jia promises to wait for Lee Young, which I mean, she says that a bunch, like I'm gonna rescue you and I'm gonna wait for you and like
The way that you waited for me, it's like you're human.
yeah.
So when you're 60 and he's been born again and is 20, are you guys gonna have a relationship at that point? That sounds like fun, I guess, but check your expectations here, girl.
Yeah, exactly. Like do you know how reincarnation works? Um yeah. Uh Granny tells us more about her son's death, and we understand a little bit more about her. She has a plan that she's willing to enact, and she's actually willing to use her power finally to influence
Save Gia. Hmm.
influence the outcome of this. Our moon bear meets Terry, and he steals the mirror of the moon. Terry wakes up and Terry wakes up the Imugi and Gia, and then they have a team up. Terry is the son of the Semochan couple, but no, I wrote this wrong. This
He
is
wears the
looks
face because
like
he met
yes.
him and actually caused everything bad to happen, and that's the big reveal. He wanted to push the buttons for
Yes.
Talupa, and it worked.
I wrote this wrong. I meant where's
Okay.
the sun? Where's the sun's face? And then Imugi Jia attacks Liang. Terry confronts Granny. Liang eats the scale because Jia is changing. Jia holds a gun to her own head. They stop, but he still eats the scale. They fight, and then Wrong stabs both Terry.
Leon begs his brother to kill him. He
Yeah.
says, "Save me," is his last words to his brother, and Lirong, stabs them both.
There were
Very, very.
so many powerful moments in it. It felt like intense and the stakes were high, and there was like that hope with Granny's plan, and like, but then like everything kind of ended up happening the way that Granny had foreseen in her visions, etc. Yep.
Yep.
And you have the screenshots on here about how Li Rong recognizes that Li Yong had always given him the greater half of everything that they had shared. You know, like the eggs. You love the eggs, but you give them to me. You love, this food. You give it to me, and he recognized that finally, which also shows like how far he's come from being embittered at the start of the season, and how he has the best arc of any character in this show.
Yes, the most complete and the most fulfilling until, well, yeah.
Let's talk about high school dating.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. This kind of annoys me when they're full-grown adults.
It seems to be a constant in K-dramas, and I understand. I think a lot of it is like a lot of them are in suspended adulthood where they haven't really gotten to experience life in a kind of like a fully realized way. So they haven't gotten to do the dating thing. Like, I mean, obviously Leon
hasn't
thousands of years old.
Yeah.
But Jia too, she kind of like lived her life dedicated to work and finding her parents and all that stuff. So yeah, of course they're gonna like have a lot of this sweet like moments. I'm trying to get everything in at once before you leave or we leave. Yeah, it's cute, but again, we knew this like last week really that the show's romance was never going to be anything really
spicy,
angsty.
Yeah. And like this is something that I've been thinking a lot about, like what is conflict and how people sort of not necessarily even butt heads, but have differing opinions on how things need to take place, and how they resolve that is very satisfying. It's very satisfying to see differences of perspective come together to a middle path. If they're kind of already on the same page, no matter the circumstances, it's all external conflict, and there isn't really anything for them to work through. And to me personally, that's less satisfying.
Same. I don't see it as sort of being a fully romantic kind of situation. It's more of just sort of a romantic dressing on top of another genre for me when that happens. So
like you're having a salad and it's not the salad you're eating, you're having like ranch dressing or something.
Or like the ranch dressing, but it's like the sugar-free kind that doesn't quite taste. I don't know. I'm sorry, that's too much. But yeah, no, it's vanilla. I think that was appropriate for Gia to eat that cone because it's extremely vanilla.
It was extremely vanilla, and it's been like, except for in the beginning when she really pushed him by him saying, please don't put yourself in danger, and she's like, I'm gonna go and do that anyways because it's my job. That was their conflict in the beginning of the series, and it like poofed into non-existence by halfway. And
the conflict here is who is going to be able to stop the other one from killing themselves to save the other person.
And personally, that's not very interesting to me, even though that's the setup of the plot of the show. I just I can love it, but at the same time, it's definitely not something that I would ever like go back to and be like top K-drama couples of all time. It's like I would put Lee Rong and Lee Yeon in that. So. Because their conflict and their resolution felt very
and I think that's
real.
the
Yeah.
point of the show really is that that is the relationship that has the most, change and
Yeah.
transformation.
Yeah. Exactly. The power of friendship, the power of femme friendship. Yes. So we kind of alluded to this in the episode, like recap, but it, this was a very powerful moment for me personally.
Me too. Yeah.
Um, I loved that we got kind of the two sides of older, as you said, matriarchs kind of
Hmm.
talking about the situation, and like one is kind of like natural law and the other is kind of like love of family and almost like filial piety. Like
Hmm.
it's fascinating. I loved it so much.
Yeah, I mean, they're both effectively the crone archetype, right? They're
Yeah.
both beyond the age of having children, and in the case of both of them, have lost the people that they love the most and are cut off from the world, from relationships with other people. So the fact that they're finally getting this moment where they can kind of not necessarily bond, but commiserate, um, in their age and their understanding of the universe.
Yeah.
It was a really powerful scene for me. I loved that. I was waiting for it the whole show because I'm like, I don't know, K dramas just do it the best. They never
Mm-hmm.
neglect older women as being kind of the voices of not just the not necessarily always the voices of reason, but people that you should listen to because their experiences do shape their understanding of the world.
Exactly. Um, Granny Demption. I knew it. I knew you weren't that bad from the beginning. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I cheered
I
when this
died.
happened. I've been a Granny Redemptionist since the beginning. I've never thought that she was necessarily evil. I think
Yeah.
she had to make the hard decision, and she also like shot herself in the foot maybe, but like she
I think
tried.
it would have been actually more interesting if she turned evil. It would have been
Hmm.
like a big like, whoa, wait a second. But I'm very happy how they played this. This felt also like a very satisfying arc. Like a lot of the secondary characters actually got very satisfying arcs, even though they didn't spend a lot of time on screen.
Yeah,
You know, like
no one was left behind, I don't think.
yeah,
I don't. I think that they actually tried pretty hard at that, and that was good.
yeah. Um, as you remember on my baby to baddie scale, she was second villain, and I'm happy to see a villain get redemption anytime.
Yeah.
So
And we thought I thought there for a minute that she was actually gone. That kind of like made me question like the whole status of the universe. But
yeah, like if she
obviously,
had frozen, yeah, they never really explain how she gets unfrozen, but
yeah,
whatever.
I guess it's not necessary.
Uh,
Whatever.
mirror of the moon bear.
Yeah. See, I didn't do any research for this episode because I was so emotionally compromised. But no, just kidding. I just don't think that there was any necessity to really go deep into that
No.
stuff because of the fact that I mean, I think it was just a simple, easy ad, right? And a nice little cameo for Moonbear again. But there is actually a very deep history to mirrors of the sun and the moon within
Mm-hmm.
East Asian mythology. So they represent the sun is supposed to focus the sun's light. That's what the mirror does. But the mirror of the moon actually condenses the dew of the moon and is
Oh.
encompassing the yin energy, so the feminine, the dark. I thought that was pretty cool. I also, like just wanted to shout out the imagery of the bear and the mountain god, and also he is in Korean mythology. There's the story of Tengun, who is actually the son of the bear goddess that was turned into a human because she, went through a trial basically. So
Mm-hmm.
included all that. I'm not going to go into it again. Sad white girl hours here. I don't know shit. So, um, but yeah, again, as at least at the end, we didn't have that like team up of the mythological creatures that we kind of hoped for, but we did
Yeah.
have a
But
little
again,
bit of it
like K dramas in the time of COVID, like
in the time of COVID.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So they can only do so much, and they could probably only have certain amounts of characters in one scene at a time.
And
There's probably
interaction. Yeah.
all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah.
I did like that it was like a Medusa type moment, where
Hmm.
she was like, I'm gonna zap you and turn you into stone because that's my power, and
Hmm.
he's like, "Brr," and then she got turned to stone. I like that. That was
I do
good.
too. I think we mentioned it when I was watching it, but the original Medusa myth, if you go into Greek mythology or any of that, is is one that's been reclaimed a lot recently because it's more understanding that Medusa and her sisters were all pretty right. They got wronged.
Yeah.
So good for them for turning people into stone, to be honest. You would do that too if you went through what they did. So I like having him sort of play this Theseus role and coming in with this mirror and turning her into stone. And it's kind of like it kind of taps into a little bit that feminine sympathy, right?
Yeah, I'm still not sure if Imugi was ever wrong or if he was just bitter and he needed love to like turn back around. And I think that would have been a really interesting, like, if they had actually managed to get there somehow. But I think that they just didn't have the pieces.
Didn't have enough time.
Or the pieces to play out that they had introduced from a plot perspective to give him something to turn back to. And if he had been Buckgill, maybe they could have done it.
Like a rage against his mother would be really interesting to tap into. Very, Oedipal in a sense.
Yeah, exactly, right? And then maybe they could have turned him around and it could have been more like the thing that was broken about the universe was fixed. But instead it was like his jealousy of Buckgill that caused him to...
Of his happiness, yep.
Yeah, of his happiness, which I feel maybe is just a little criticism on the plot that they could have done it a different way and maybe made it more successful from a emotional conflict perspective. Yeah, so we had just gone into this, but you call her the spirit of spirits all you want, but as long as she harbors a human heart, she will always have a weak spot. Yep.
I liked that line, so I just grabbed it directly from the show. But like, when he says that, it's very, it feels right because again, she's one of those characters that we haven't seen really crack, and I mean, she's cracked in the sense that she's put her foot down about her rules and her obligations, but she's never been like emotionally compromised by her own thing, and that set up and payoff was pretty nice for me, I think, and I like that we've got to that point. So
yeah.
Pour one out for my girl, even though she comes back.
Yeah, exactly. And yep. But it was good that, again, more payoff. Like they had laid this groundwork as her fatal flaw and or her Achilles heel, and it actually paid off. Accepting the inevitable. Oh God.
Yeah. I just for the final battle, I went through it again and watched it, and I just think, we know what's going to happen. We know that the plan's going to go awry somehow, because there's always contingencies upon contingencies when you're dealing with immortal beings.
Yeah.
The way it plays out is, I don't know, it felt pretty gratifying to me.
Yeah, episode 15. Yeah, definitely. Like it worked. Yeah.
It's a very long fight too, considering.
And like well choreographed and like interesting to look at, and felt like the stakes were very, very high. Like yeah, exactly. And like in the end, he wins because he's smart and he's tricky. Like he is a fox, and that's why he wins. He knows everybody and he knows everything. And even though the variables like Granny being hit by the moon mirror, and like all of these things, he still had a plan that was in some ways foolproof, even though it involved sacrificing himself.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't necessarily mean he didn't make it up on the fly, because I mean they kind of revealed that stuff to him before they even went there. It's like, guess what? Your friend just got murked by Terry and got his mirror stolen. So he's like, okay, let me go get my stuff. And he runs into his bedroom and eats
evening primrose.
So like, yeah, okay, he's always got a plan, but like that, I don't know if he saw it coming or not, but it's good.
I swear, like every time I see a mutual who's like really into a ship, they're saying like they're so dumb. Like, why do they only have 2 brain cells that they share? Like one brain cell they share. Like, why are they this stupid?
My favorite meme after Tross was, or the Last Stars maybe, was the fact that everybody was like, well, one of them had to die, otherwise they would have just been trading back their life force back and forth for all of eternity. No. Oh somebody was, I mean, and then she's actually, he dies and she wants to sacrifice herself afterwards, and so you always need a person to come in and go, okay, stop it, guys, stop it. You can't just, soulmates. I get it that you can't live without each other, but
I know, and that's just like the writers are just, in my opinion, making the wrong choice. with this. Like
no.
they just don't understand, like, it's much more satisfying to have a transcendent moment where they both live because of their love. Like, that's the key, is like, yeah, love can overcome, and some writers need to learn that.
Yeah, and I honestly, even within the K-drama thing, like sometimes it doesn't even really need to make sense. I'm not really worried about that. I mean, if you're tapping into even like it's almost like tapping into genre here. Like you don't, the narrative loopholes that you can tap into to save a character are infinite. It's just
there's enough genre in this show. They could have done it. They could have had a god step in and be like, you know what, you guys have suffered enough. Here you go. Boom. I mean, musical ending, I don't care. It would have been satisfying because everybody had sacrificed and suffered.
Yeah, and I think the ending was like of this episode specifically where Leon dies is powerful, and I don't.
Yeah, it's.
And
good.
I'm not anti-tragedy in any way. I guess what I am anti-tragedy is sort of like almost like a cheap feeling of inevitability because it's been framed as the only option.
Yeah. Like there must be a cost that is paid. Well, sometimes the cost is actually the cost of the former self. You've given up something from personality or from a freedom's perspective, or in Lee Young's case, as we get into the next episode, his immortality. That is the cost, right? Or
should have been.
Is it? Again, that's where we're like, the hell? Okay.
I get it. I think the popularity of the show was pretty high, so of course they have to do.
Like, was that what they redid at the end?
I just feel like it's we'll get into it, but I definitely feel like they probably planned on that not being the ending, and then it was kind of added in because they wanted to have sequel potential, just like you have a.
The almighty dollar. Let's talk about Evening Primrose. Which this is not.
It's a big trope, poisoning yourself if your body's going to be taken over. I think that one's been done quite a few times in other stories, and I think it was good in this context.
And they knew that they were connected. The externally Moogie and Terry Moogie. What kind of flower was this again? Did we like that he's actually holding, because it's not primrose?
I don't know. Did we look it up?
Tiffany's in chat.
Somebody needs to please, in chat, if you can tell us what kind of flower it is, I'd be much appreciated,
because it's not actually evening primrose.
Pansies,
okay.
Somebody said, and I think that's probably appropriate.
But we, this again laid out in the early episodes when he goes and saves her, and the shaman put the evening primrose around to prevent him from entering this. It's an excellent callback to early on.
Chekhov's primrose. Yeah.
Chekhov's primrose. Yes. More of that, please. God, I really loved this shot.
They did a really good job with that.
Yeah.
I think even just the setup of that set, and then knowing that like we've been looking at that set forever, but we didn't know it was the gateway into the other world, and that was just really a nice, perfect production design / like aesthetic experience for me. So I really like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then the final battle, which of course, we loved. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could have included a lot more shots. I actually took a lot more screenshots, but this was really hard to watch again, actually. A lot of it too comes from the fact that the emotions that are going through, like, especially when Li Rong is asked to kill his brother, like, and he knew that he'd have to do it because he'd been asked to do it. But it's just, that scene is just so powerful. And then the saranghae before he falls, it's just, chef's kiss. Really, a really good death scene. Ultimately, and one that I almost, from my perspective, I think maybe would have been more meaningful if it was more permanent. But
I mean, fair, yeah. Like I actually, if they wanted to continue on this story, I think they probably should have left everybody like, with a hint that he was coming back, but not actually bring him back.
Yeah.
Like if they really wanted to push for it. And then the next story is like all about trying to get him back, and then nobody needs to die because everybody's involved in the conversation. But
yeah, I think this is a result of people being so upset about a Korean Odyssey that they're like, no, you cannot leave it without, getting him out of hell, because otherwise we're gonna have riots and
fair. I haven't seen that yet, so
yeah, everybody in chat saying that they cried during the scene, and I swear to God, I started crying about 50% of the way through this episode, and I did not stop for the entire time. So I am here with you. And then when I got into episode 16, it was a mixture of crying and just like, what the hell is going on?
It was so weird. I don't know. It's just
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't have emotions at all.
Big lie. Big lie. Me, I'm the dead inside one. You're the one who's like gushy.
Catch me at the right time of the month and I have a lot of emotions.
Yeah. Sleep well to our sweet prince. You won't be missed. Oh,
actually, the actor I think did an incredible job, and I'm not
we don't like him.
All.
Ugh. And when you
we just don't like Terry.
Yeah, we just don't like Terry. But when the actor does such a good job of being unlikable, like that's
love to hate it.
Yeah, like that's an achievement in and of itself, right?
And I like this picture of him because it's obviously behind the scenes. They released a bunch of behind the scenes stuff at the end, and I just thought this was the cutest picture. He's just like sitting there with a dead arm.
Well, that's when he was like knocking, trying to get Gia to come upstairs and stuff. Yeah, because he could sense her. Yeah. Oh God, I just wish they had actually tried to make him sexy at one point.
Yeah.
Nope. Still a baby.
Still baby.
All right, on to episode 16, the rewritten tale of the nine-tailed.
If you can't see the text that Marie Claire put in the category, it says those last 30 seconds. We laugh so that we don't cry. But yeah.
I mean, the meta reference in the to the title of the show. Thanks, show, for telling me the plot of the show. I don't know. I find that just a little bit cheesy. I don't think that needs to be done. I guess some people like that sort of thing, but me myself, I'm like, that didn't need to happen.
It's just like it's a simple nod to the audience. Tongue in cheek. I know.
But she had already referred to it when they had gone to the waterfall trip. I don't know if I know all of the tale of the nine-tailed, and it's like, okay. Haha, we get you. We see you. But this was just like hamming it up a little bit too much for me.
Yeah.
And then, those last 30 seconds. Okay.
That happened.
Yep. All right. As you can see, less things happened generally, and we're a little bit more sarcastic and meme-like with our next few slides.
We're gonna just shitpost for the rest of the episode, so just bear with us here.
Yeah. So after Leong's sacrifice, everyone tries to return to normal, but Jia, and also arguably Li Rong, eventually after he gets his note or message from his brother, Jia begs Granny to bring him back. Shinju proposes to Yuri and they get married. Jia makes the Tale of the Nine-Tailed docu-series. Jia and Li Rong meet up with the fortune teller, who's the great King Odo, the 10th king of the underworld, in charge of underworld darkness and reincarnation. And that's why he was blind, because Justice was blind.
Yes, that's true.
Li Rong sacrifices himself to bring back Leong. Leong returns as a human and reconnects with Jia and everyone. Li Rong leaves a final message for Leong, which of course is heartbreaking and amazing. Jia and Leong get married and live their life. Li Rong is reborn. Soho, Yuri, and Shinju are a family. And then Leong is still a fox? I put it way below because it was kind of like an after credits like MCU scene.
It was exactly that, and that's like sort of like, it's a specter of capitalism just rising out of a story.
Like I have gotten used to it with the MCU. I'm okay with it with the MCU because they've done it from the beginning. It's fine. They've made it their brand. But like other shows that try to do it, I'm like, why? It was basically like saying Li Young will return.
Yeah.
Like...
Chat says that it's his sword allows him to access his fox powers. And, you know, I think that's legitimate. He is a god. It would be hard to, like, put that light under a basket or whatever the metaphor is. But, you know, like, still, I just think it kind of, the whole point, and even during his death scene, she said, you know, he's like, I wanted to be more, or not his death scene, but we'll get into it. But, like, when he's, the opening of this episode, he's like, I wanted to be immortal. And, you know, like, it changes the stakes if somebody comes back and isn't, you know, like, it's a completely different story then. And then you have to think about the ramifications of it from the point of, well, is he going to live forever? And then Jia dies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that is the sacrifice that maybe he makes. And then, like, how does he break that to her later? I don't know.
And if you're really trying to set up a sequel, I mean, what are we really going to see?
Yeah.
What are we going to see?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Obligatory montage of falling into the void and being reborn scene. Thank you, Janja. We love you, Janja.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you have not watched the C-drama, please.
We have
know that this is
rec list.
And this is in every single one. Usually it's the, you know, the femme lead character, not the male lead character.
Yeah.
Falling into the void and dying, and, you know, the reaching out of the hand to try to grasp one last time before they're dissolved into the void and reborn. Which is like what happens here. I think that this was really nice for me, as, you know, because I'm a fan of both K-dramas and C-dramas. So it's like
generally speaking, the genre influences on this K-drama have been very solid. Like, they made sense. They worked really well with the integration. It was like they just decided to drop the genre halfway through. Odd choices near the end. Okay, so I do want to talk about this, like, scene where he's like, he left the message fairly wrong, and, like, both these actors acted the hell out of this scene.
It was like they were in a contest to, like, make each other actually cry.
Yeah, like realistically cry. And just the moment that really got me and, like, actually got me, like, verklempt was at the end when he's about to say goodbye, and you see the, like, one little tear on Lee Young's, like, eye, and, like, that's it. Like, he's, like, trying to hold it together until he can finish his message to his brother.
Yeah, and I included the comedic part just so that we could have some levity here, just like a K-drama does, right? I mean, I like that.
It was so good. Yeah, it was
good.
It was good. Yeah.
Little boy.
No.
I know, like, one of these pictures is from episode 15, but we're just not going to talk about it. I just wanted to include the sweater for comparison, because that black and white sweater, I mean, all of his black and white sweaters just, whew. But I did really like that they had the time to talk and that she could kind of get Lee Rong's perspective, because, you know, they haven't really had time to, like, bond and to be friends.
It was, like, the most antagonistic Hurt Comfort that I had ever seen, and I loved that. I loved this, like, why does she like you? Why does he care about you? And trying to resolve that, because their views of Lee Young were very different, and getting through that is something that you have to do when you become a family through kind of alternative circumstances.
Honestly, one of my favorite things of processing grief too, which I think, you know, when we talk about grieving as a family, even if you're not, like, blood related, if you know somebody, it's always about coming around the table to tell stories. Like, when my grandpa passed last year, the first thing people did was sit around and just talk about their experiences with him and solidify those memories for my grandmother to remember him from the other people's perspectives, you know? Yeah. And I just think that's really important to do. You have a wake, you know, this is our wake for Leon. Even if he just comes back, like, you know, but still, I think that was great. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, we had talked about how, like, or I wanted this, like, I wanted this from, like, I don't know.
From the get-go, we wanted them to have that, you know, because we knew that they have, I mean, their scenes, whenever they have that interaction, they're always at each other's throats, and it felt so good, because it's like,
that conflict. Yeah. Yeah, and, like, it would, I think it and I don't know how much is limited by COVID. I don't know how much is the writing.
I mean, he couldn't even like shake her hand. He had to use a transformer. So
so like I don't know, but like the transformer was also like a really good ad because it's like also the presence of Soho in his life too, right? Like
he's a good dad.
He's a good dad, and he's like a dad to like kind of he kind of took over being dad, right? But I wanted them to fight more and for Lee Young to have to resolve that between the two of them. And I think it would have been, you know, a little bit more. But this was still very solid.
It was, yeah.
The interaction around the table with, you know, Shinshu, Yuri, Lirong,
when he was like,
Soho.
I like how she was like, we're a set of three. You can't get rid of one of us. He was like, well, don't use me as your maid, you know, like, or why are you using me as your maid? I just loved this whole scene. I love the cohabitation aspect, sort of like that third child kind of.
Yeah, like grandpa.
Actually, not third child. Since he was taking care of like three children.
Yeah,
Shinju's a dad.
And but Lee Rong is kind of like crazy grandpa. Yeah. You know, like in a way, like because he's like, I'm gonna do what I want. I bought you the kimchi refrigerator, and he's like, Hyung, like, which is like an older brother, basically.
Yeah, he's been accepted into the family, and they don't have that antagonism that they did when he almost killed him. That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like when
we got over that.
Yeah, like, and everybody loves Soho, and that, you know, everybody treats like that family dynamic. Like I would watch a sitcom with like the Foxes and the one mortal kid like all day long.
Yeah, and shout out to chat who's pointing out that the use of the robot to shake hands is part of getting around that Fox deal where he would have had to actually make a promise in that scenario. So good one for you guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah, solid.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I did like that. You have so many moments where you're just seeing Lee Dong getting to almost be a kid again and enjoy his time, even though he's also at the same time dealing with a lot of this PTSD around killing his brother, and it's shown from him like sitting in his room drinking bottles of wine,
and then,
which, you know, is a relatable concept. I'm just gonna say,
especially in the time of COVID.
Yeah, especially in the time of COVID. And we'll get more into that when I have my little rant, but yeah, no, I loved this. It was good.
I loved the engagement scene.
Did you really?
I did. It was exactly Shinju.
There was a lot of Wonderwall jokes going on when we were talking about this.
Well, I thought he was singing "Hey There, Delilah" in my mind. You know, like something really like very cheesy, but I loved it because we got it from the two perspectives. We got it like, you know, from Gia's perspective where she's like recording this and it's like recorded forever, and then we got Lee Young who's like, oh my god, I can't, you're not gonna sing, oh no, you're singing, oh my god, no, and he like covers his face, and you know, it's like, I raised you badly. And I had to add my stupid meme in there.
No, that was yeah, I did pretend I do not see it. That's him. He's got more style than that. I don't think he would be able to do that.
Exactly. All right, just the like brief thing about this episode, the 10th King of Hell. There is something about the colors that are behind him. He is the person that like basically turns the wheel of reincarnation, and it determines what you will become and where you will go in kind of all of the planes of existence, good, bad, demon, angel, you know, animal, human, and like the reason he is blind is because it's kind of like the afterlife judge of what you're going to be, you know, reincarnated to, and so he has to be blind to truthfully
the scales of justice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it needs to be an objective decision, but it also is built, it's always coming from your own personal determination, right? Like what choices did you make in life to lead you to the path where when you're reborn again after you've been judged, you know, where will you inevitably end up, you know?
And he is the big fellow in the middle of this painting, which was painted in 1798, which is lovely, and it's something you can find out there. And I think they did a really good job of making him look like the guy from the painting.
They did. Yeah, it's awesome. We were wondering for so hard in our episode on the episode where he initially showed up, trying to figure out who he was. So having again that payoff in terms of, yeah, no, that's the character, was satisfying from a narrative level.
And I'm a sucker for when gods get involved with mortal affairs.
Love it. Absolutely do.
Yeah.
And plus, this is kind of it's sort of a redetermination of their initial encounter, where Liudong was the one who initially sold over the fox speed to him, and he could have permanently put him out of the picture if it wasn't for Jia, because he not the fox speed, actually gave over Leon to him.
Yeah.
So this is sort of like him.
It was him getting him back.
Full circle. We get the fox speed back. We get Leon back, but we also, you gotta pay your dues. And I think that it's really good that in that conversation, Liudong acknowledges that. He's like, I have stolen many people's lives, so I will do this, but allow me to say goodbye.
Yep. And moving on. He didn't get to say goodbye to everyone's favorite character.
I'm just gonna have a moment. We're gonna sit through this one a little bit. I initially saw these scenes like on Twitter the morning I woke up that the episode came out, because I always spoil myself before the subtitles are out in Viki. And man, did this one hurt.
Yeah.
Did this one just sort of send me into I don't know. Yeah, I knew it was coming, but I didn't want it to happen. And I don't think it was like, not like this, not like this. I just don't want it to happen that way.
Yeah, it just, like, I just feel disappointed with this choice.
Me too.
And, we, ooh, one sec, sorry. Give me a sec. Yeah. We get an upstaged moment where, if we can, let's meet again, my brother. It's like their whole goal, like, much like, hey, can I overcome my brother? It was like to make the other one cry more. It's just like,
he crazy. Won. He got the rules of the game, and then he broke it. I'm proud of him.
Yeah, he wins. And can we just say, Kim Bom acted the hell out of this whole show, and he deserves the world. Give him I will come back.
Please just make him a male lead in a romantic drama. Please just give this to us, please. He's so good.
Yeah.
And don't make him play the feisty, cynical side character. Make him play the actual, just feeling like, and deep. Like, I mean, he could be. I think it's hard because he's such a smiley, cute kind of. He's got little eye like kind of thing going on, but he really can sell it. Like he
has these like micro expressions. Like, look at him being sad in that picture. Like, oh my goodness, let's give him some like drama where he gets to be the male lead. I think I just want to see what he will do, and he would just destroy us all. So
like he would destroy us, absolutely.
Yeah. And then we get I cannot believe that you made this reference. I didn't even see this before I loaded this. What the hell?
I just had to like.
That they're from like Alberta, right? Like
yeah, I know. It's the Canadian thing. Look at this photograph. That photograph just makes me want to scream, because it's like the dorkiest thing that they could have found to put on that. Like, you have this beautiful, fashionable, like I can't. Like, I almost feel like it was like a choice. Like Gia was like, I'll print out a picture of him for you. Yeah.
Like, they made that beautiful gravestone with the little fox on it, right, with his name, and they could have had the picture like embedded in the gravestone. Like, they spent all that money, but no, it has to be this weird like picture. I don't know. In the chat, like, get this cursed image away from me. And yeah, sorry, I had to. Yeah,
had to do it to him.
I'm gonna hold this in my heart against you for all time.
Okay.
No, just kidding. Okay, we had lots of chicken references this episode, and
God.
this one was they were meeting up after he came back, and he was complaining about being a human, and they were eating chicken together, and he's like leaned back, and we got Shinju, and I like you showed me this when we were watching it together, and I was like, oh my God, that's so adorable. But he basically wears pins of his family now.
Yeah. Is that his entire family? Oh,
yeah, because like
cute.
the black one is probably Li Rong. He's the fox. And then the other two are Yuri and Soho.
Oh, the black one would be the puppy though, wouldn't it?
Oh, maybe he's Blackie, yeah.
Oh, that's so cute though. Yeah, because actually Yuri is a white fox. I didn't actually get to finish the specials, but you get to see her tail in one. It's really cute. So.
Oh my goodness, she's adorable.
I want those pins so badly.
I just love that he's just like owned this, and that's his like transformation through the show is like, now I have a purpose that's beyond just serving Li Yong, and I love that.
Same.
Yeah. The best vows include chicken. We
kind of like the really poignant parts of it. I think one of the lines that Leon says is that I'm fascinated by the Korean word for human, because if you take off one of the consonants, it's love. But we have to include the chicken part because it's funny. And again, we're trying to overcome the sadness today. So
yes. I mean, it was a beautiful wedding. I thought it was very nice. The only weirdness about this whole episode, and again, a lot of leeway for the time of COVID. Her parents weren't invited to her own wedding. Her parents weren't invited to her other friends' things, where literally like everybody, her boss is invited. Like, I don't understand why she keeps her parents locked up in the basement.
Yeah, I think they were just effectively out of the show. They're not doing it. So, yeah, I mean, I agree.
It could be the time of COVID, and if that's the reason. But if any other time you make a show and you're able to actually get all the like, it makes character sense that she would start including her parents in all of her activities, because they don't have any interpersonal connections with anybody else in the world.
They've been gone for 20 years. Please give them a grandchild. And Sohu, it's like, oh yeah, like
they could have like adopted Sohu and like given him presents and like picked him up from school occasionally, given them something to do. Like, what? It's weird.
I did like this effectively as a photo shoot. It was good. It's a photo shoot. That's it. The rings, the little flower rings that they have are cute, and the kiss is nice. It's just at this point in watching it, I did not feel anything. So
no, her parents were in earlier on in the episode because they gave her the gift of the wedding dress and her birthday. True, yeah. So like they were in the episode, but then they weren't at like key things. They like, are they unable to leave her house? It's just weird. Like
they're unable to leave their house because their neighbors from 20 years ago are recognized.
They're like,
maybe they should move.
Yeah, like maybe, but she's really attached to the house, so they gotta stay in the house. It's weird.
Okay, so Isabella says she did not like the kiss, and I agree. And I have to say that I think, Lee Dong-wook, just grow up already. You can kiss like you don't have to be so shy. I know you're a little that I've seen this man get embarrassed in talk shows about even mentioning stuff. So like, I know it's because he's shy. Like he is, I don't know. He's got something going on, but I have kiss already. Just give a good, honest kiss, like touch your heart level kiss.
Yes. Do it something that it's going to make us like think about it for months. Like, yeah.
So I can watch it over and over again. I mean, if it's okay to not be okay, can set the parameters high for 2020 kissing,
Absolutely.
Oh, well, they're children.
They are children. Li Rong was reincarnated. How do you feel about this? How do we feel about this?
Well,
he's a cute kid. He was such a cute kid. He deserves happiness. He deserves to have a mom who is invested in him. He deserves to have a mom who's invested in him. He deserves to have like people around him that care about him and don't abandon him. He deserves to have a chance. And I know I know we talked about this when we watched it. The reasons why it sucks are the same reasons why I have a problem with Ben Solo being killed, and it has to do with us giving up on our forgotten sons of our society. And it's a larger metaphor that I will not stop yelling about, talking politely about, that we need to find a different path for how men view like they need to sacrifice themselves because they have no alternatives, and women too, but it's primarily young men who are troubled and go through troubled past. And
if I could add, you know,
yeah,
I have been a huge Marvel fan, and and also, you know, I think Game of Thrones did this to me too. It's Daenerys, because I thought that there was something going on there, but like a lot of it was from a women's perspective. It was like the expendability factor usually comes from the fact that they can't have children or don't have a serious romantic interest.
Yeah, or they're not married, or they haven't had a child. If they have had a child, they're expendable. It's weird.
I really don't like it, and especially the framing around, I guess when it started, like when we talked about this when I was streaming, but like the framing around him as sort of like not choosing to move forward and not being able to get over his past and not being able to accept his new life or any potential for new growth. And possibly that comes to the fact that he is partially immortal and not human, so he doesn't have that option. He was tired of living that way. But still, it's kind of it's almost a little bit ugly in the sense that it doesn't allow that person to have the I don't know. It's a framing.
So it is a metaphor, of course. The reincarnation is giving you a second chance, and it's always like being reincarnated, like we talked about earlier on in the season, is learning to love that person again. Like loving the same person who's been reincarnated is learning to love that person in a new way. That is the metaphor. It takes a lot more work to make it successful when it is a singular person who needs to redo their life. Like it takes just a lot more work to make it feel earned and worthwhile. I think Goblin did it very well with both Sunny and Reaper. And so like if you're looking for an example where they got to live again and have like different lives, I think that was actually a better example of how that worked out for them.
It felt so good. Like I know a lot of people were very upset by the ending of Goblin when it came to that ship, but like that was like, for me, that was like a redemptive kind of like really good feeling for them both, you know, having moved on and had new lives, and you know, and her choice also to decide to live her life without him, that too. Like I think that was just very powerful. One of my favorite romantic arcs in anything, period. We'll stand by it forever, even if people don't like it.
The chat
are you saying what I'm saying in chat?
Yeah, I know. I was like, what? That makes me mad.
So to articulate to people that are just listening to this, we have some nice people here who are saying that they shot a picnic scene with Leon, Gia, and their daughter, and then cut it from the episode.
It needed that.
Yeah. God damn it.
It would have shown the growth and the change and the worthwhileness, I think.
I mean, if they're showing Leon at a point where he's able to meet with his already reincarnated brother, it's been years passing. It would have been nice to see him with his own family and not just ending it the way that they did. Thank you for elucidating us to that, because I did not know about that. And God damn it.
Okay.
God damn it.
Last 30 seconds. I apologize for the slide, but what the hell? This is unsatisfactory and unsatisfying for me personally, because
it doesn't make any sense.
He's given something up. He gave up his immortality. He gave up his powers to be with her, and he had to have paid a price that was semi-equal to what his brother paid to get him back, right? Like that's the balance. And I would have been fine if they had the picnic with the daughter. That would have made me very like, okay, this is what you got. Instead, he still has his powers, and effectively, like, although maybe this is just temporary when he holds the sword or whatever, he still has his powers. It means he's kind of lying to Gia, and that really bothers me.
Yeah.
He still
he
has an umbrella rack. Like, that was very goblin-y too. Like, he had a place for his super powered paraphernalia. No, don't do this.
He's effectively, then I think what they're trying to do is like, it's like, yeah, it's a franchise setup. He's a superhero now, and now we're going to include he will be back and something. And it's like, it's not necessary. The arc was complete for a reason. And, it's like, I just don't, I don't want to see him anything else. I want him to, I mean, if you put me through all of that, oh, I'm struggling to live like a real human life, and all of the, what I felt at the end, forced romantic angst about, I can't live with you forever, then, then it would be different if you ended it like, okay, I'm still a fox, so now I'm gonna have to like live with the fact that this partner of mine is not immortal. How do we rectify that?
Yeah, it would have been
that'd be okay.
A bittersweet ending if they had acknowledged that as part of the ending, and that struggle.
Chat saying he can use his power during the full moon. Okay, I still don't need him to be a superhero.
Yeah.
that's not a satisfying story from a mythological perspective, coming down, not the opposite of transcendence into godhood, becoming mortal for your mortal bride. Because we talked about this in previous streams, is that we were really, really interested in if she would take on the Imugi's immortality and become herself to transcend into a goddess on the level of him. And if he goes down to go and meet her, that's a different story entirely,
I think they were telling two different stories, and then they got confused personally, because they set up a lot of stuff for her to, I will save you, I will have the power, which is very Twilight, like, because that's what happens with Bella, right?
Yeah, she becomes an immortal.
An immortal. She has the power. She becomes actually in some ways a goddess, because she has the ability to protect her family and everybody around her. And they just didn't do it that way. They went the reverse, which is also a fine story, but it means something different from a symbolic perspective. And I need them to understand this, creators, that this is, last 30 seconds feels like a WTF moment and not what the fiction.
It just feels like a punch in the face. And I think a lot of people felt that way. And I think that if you ignored that, you can definitely like kind of just write it off as just what it is for the sake of drama stuff. And yeah, I mean, I know that they're keeping it open because they don't, they might have to go fishing in their existing stuff for things to recreate or redo, or I don't know what they're gonna do. Probably a cameo in something else. I don't know, but
it's just not interesting to me. Give them both superpowers or take it away and make it permanent. Don't go halfsies. That's just weird. All right, the Lee Rung and Yuri special episodes. We didn't actually get around to watching them, even though we promised.
I've seen clips on Twitter, but I haven't been able to watch the fan sub versions. And in hindsight, we knew that they were going to, they kind of like, it was like the death knell for Lee Rung when those came out, because we were like so excited about them, and then we were like,
wait a second.
And then they turn out to be like 8 minutes, and then they're cute, whatever. I have no problem with them, and if you watch them, I hope that you had a good time. I will wait to watch them. And I just don't, I can't see his beautiful face again right now without crying. So, just bear with me.
Give Kim Bom a main lead show. Yeah, that's her play. I did want to pull back the relationship chart, just because this is how it all kind of ended up being the end. And we did actually see a lot of change and progress throughout the show. Although I should have put like a little fence around Gia's parents so that we knew that they can never leave the house. Because they can't.
Yeah, you'll never leave your house again. Yeah.
We definitely had a lot of love bloom, which I appreciate. I appreciate lots of love in a show between secondary characters. And I removed the broken heart between Grandma and Grandpa.
It's been healed.
It's been healed. It was very good. And they although they don't take off vacations, they do spend every night, every couple of weeks and think about their son and reconnect as a married couple. And I love that.
Yep.
And I added in Soho.
Yeah, of course, our Fox family. So he's so cute. Yeah, and the end of the slideshow is just going to be behind the scenes stuff that they've released, and just to say goodbye to the people that we've spent the last 2 months with, and effectively
to the true ship of the show.
the true ship of the show.
The OTP.
The OTP.
They were so good together. Like their chemistry, the conflict, the brotherly love, and yet also annoyance. Like my favorite scene still is like when he goes into the fortune teller and like puts his foot in his brother's face. Like that it just felt so real.
Yeah. There's a lot of brotherly moments between them, and I think that yeah, I'm glad that they got the time that they did. And effectively, I mean, they still exist within the same plane of existence. It's just that none of that, that's the thing with me with Reincarnation. It's great that they're back, but all of the history and the interestingness and the conflict all the resolution is just.
Yeah, and it wasn't done in the right way. Like they could technically give him the tiger's brow, and then he could remember all of his past lives. And
I don't think you want to inflict that kind of trauma on a kid.
But... Yeah, no, you don't want to. You could do that, but like
you could do that. But
you don't want to do that. That would be child abuse. It's like, oh, you used to be a murderer. Enjoy. I love them so much.
Yeah, it was good. I'm glad that we had them for what we did.
We didn't see coming based on the kind of intro marketing and behind the scenes stuff. We didn't see that this was going to be a thing. They didn't really tell us about this, and they gave them like 3 to 5 minutes an episode together, but they sold this arc together. Like, yeah, I think sold it
on the power of them being the baby foxes. They did such a great job together, and I was really charmed by their relationship, even if it was again pretty childish, but it was in that very innocent kind of dopey way that you kind of want to see sometimes. You just want to essentially dumb people falling in love. I mean, they're not really dumb, they're just children,
Yeah, exactly. And then she takes on the role of being Soho's mom and really protecting him, and like the cool mom that he always needed, and that was satisfactory too. Like, love them.
Yeah, baby foxes forever.
And of course, Lee Dong-wook.
Yeah, and I should have included a side for Jo Ba. Don't get me wrong, I loved her acting in this, and I think she's great. But we know who the real seller point of the show was. It was, I like how the cast gave him that little party in the back. And also the waterfall scene. Sorry, I just...
Yeah. The waterfall scene where Lee Rong is telling the story about how vain his brother was. Like, that was wonderful, because it's always like that. Like the stories that you tell about other people are like very different than your own personal like perspective of yourself. And it's like, oh yeah, he's so vain, and he would always look at himself in the water every day. And yeah, that was just so good.
Magical scene. But I'm so glad that Wookie is doing leads and dramas again. I mean, he was in a couple, like Strangers of the Hell. Like, I haven't watched it because I'm very terrified of horror, but I've watched a lot of clips from it, and it's really good. And I'm glad to see him as a romantic lead. But I hope the next time we get something with a little bit more angst and conflict that's internally motivated. Kim Bum too. Like, give him everything that he wants.
Yeah. Give him the whole world, Kim Bum. Yeah. I'm happy he's back to acting. Like, I like out of the gate, like he hasn't done anything in years because of military service and kind of taking a personal break, and to have him come back and just like knock it out of the park. This show was just so good. Yeah, he stole. I mean, he didn't steal the show, but he pretty much stole the show. That's all the hype that I was seeing online over the past few months is just. I mean, and if you look at the Twitter tags for Tale of the Nine-Tailed, it's like 50% him,
And we know this feeling. It's just the pure charisma of the second male lead.
Exactly. And I'm trying to think in retrospect the whole show, and
Mm-hmm.
the things that it did incredibly well was lay out especially mythological breadcrumbs that actually meant something.
Yeah, there
Like,
was no stone left unturned with that. That was good. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and it fully made us, like you and I specific, like it's like this again, this show was made in a lab for you, except for the ending when they like took it out of the oven too long or too early for you or something. um but um like the mythological pieces, the tying in and making sure that all of the different pieces were laid out and then they were all collected along the way was really successfully done. I really just think that they need to listen to, probably writers need to listen to some viewer feedback about why these things don't work for people, because you can go and look at the at my drama lists, look at the end of the season and see like this show has like over 9 for the whole series, for the whole season, for the whole show, and then like it's down to a 6 or something for the last episode, just because it was either confusing or they changed something or they made a decision last minute or
They set
something.
the bar too high with the 15th episode.
Yeah.
And then they kind of they just again we're very familiar with the drama trope of just kind of like a whimper without a instead of a bang kind of situation when it comes to the last episodes or the last episode. Sometimes they'll just throw something really, really dumb at you in the last episode and you're just going to have to deal with it, you know, or they'll like have an open ending where you have to go online to see how people explain it because they cut something or
Mm-hmm.
they left out like that, like we've mentioned, you know, that picnic scene, you know, that inclusion of that little kernel of satisfaction that the audience needs in order to feel like they've watched a fully developed and whole story, something that kind of keeps that rise of emotional high. If they don't include it, then it's very sad. I mean, I think about like and I watched Moon Lovers and knowing that they wouldn't have that scene that IU had posted pictures of her in the modern world with, you know, like it, you know, basically saying that, you know, she actually met him again and, you know, in
Mm-hmm.
this life. That would have changed the ending for so many people who weren't familiar with the original story, which included it. Or, you know, just the you know, I don't know why they do this either. Is it maybe just a time crunch thing, or is it, I don't know if it's even just a disrespect for the audience. It's just, yeah, it's just not emotionally gratifying sometimes to have to deal with that all the time. So
I
yeah,
know, right? And
why every day?
every day. But like,
The drama lover's curse.
the drama lover's curse. And to be fair, there are K-dramas that don't do that. Like, we've gotten some this year that had incredibly solid endings. I'm thinking of Crash Landing on You. I'm thinking of It's Okay to Not Be Okay. Like, just very solid, thought through, and it's like they plan them end to end. And for the most part, Studio Dragon has been doing a lot of solid work, but then they occasionally have like a king where, hey, that's satisfying for the main couple, although the chemistry was a little bit weaker, and it was satisfying for everybody involved, but then the actual plot was just confusing because they ran out of time or couldn't explain everything.
Yeah, and the medium in itself, I was just ranting to you today about this. It's like the medium is sort of flawed from the get-go, because you have that fixed 16 episodes. You have that we're going to continue production while it's airing and take feedback while it's airing. I cannot think of a worse setup for creative
Outcomes.
I don't know, ownership. Yeah, outcomes. And so
yeah, it's like Reddit is getting involved in the production of a Star Wars movie. How would that turn out well? I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes you don't want to hear from the fans.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel this like on a huge level when you got me into startup
Sorry.
and then you abandoned me. You abandoned me in my time of need. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow when I watch the whole entire circus burn down. 'Cause, like
Yeah.
yeah, you watch the fan response to this, and also the supplementary stuff that actually supports it, right? Like I don't think that they would have ever made those spin-off episodes if they hadn't seen how powerful the fan response was to Kim Bom being in this and knowing that he was such a beloved character.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good. It's cool because it is, again, it's part of a marketing campaign to maintain interest through the progression of the show. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same token, it kind of creates this environment where you never feel safe because you never know editorially what is being affected, the
Yeah.
fan creator response, and you don't know who's the loudest voice here. Might not be the one you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like judging by the ending and like the fan response to that, I don't think that they chose wisely in what was the logical conclusion for many of these stories.
Yeah.
And I just want creators to understand the outside perspective of the story that they're telling and to try to be brave and chance the consequences. And I know that that's a lot to ask because they have to make money. This is art, making money is always the struggle, right?
Yeah, and chat's talking about executive interference, which is
Mm-hmm.
so true. And honestly, having come from the perspective of C dramas, where that's a lot different story, right?
Mm-hmm.
State-owned media changes a lot. We're not talking about propaganda or like censorship, because I really don't think that actually is as a big thing as people from an objective perspective, not knowing C dramas, understand. Like, yes, there is that interference, but it's not as like heavy. It's just a lot of it does revolve around capitalism. Like what are we trying to sell here? And are we trying to sell the idea that uh, you know, we need more product placement in this, or that like somebody's coming in and going, okay, we didn't have enough shots of Volvos in this episode, or we or in some cases it's like sacrificing some of the secondary storylines to have more of the leads, because that's sort of the only selling point that you have if you sort of drop the ball on a lot of the other parts of the story. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, absolutely, executive interference is a thing, and
Mm-hmm.
it is a drama curse, just like the endings being subject to, sometimes you just forget the last 5 minutes of it because you just invested a lot of time to be disappointed. Yeah.
Exactly. So we are going to wrap this up and take a tiny break. And then start up our after party after this. And again, if you weren't able to attend the live stream, I do apologize. We will do more for other things that we will be covering in the future for when we've made it through a whole season of stuff. Like I'm planning on covering WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the MCU, we will dive right in. But I think that WandaVision is really, really important to cover, which is the first out of the gate Disney Plus show, and it's around a female lead, and it's deeply psychological, dealing with trauma, dealing with all sorts of like very interesting topics that I myself am drawn to. And so I'm going to be covering that in January. And once we make it through that show, I will definitely do an after party as well, which I think is just a really fun way to kind of wrap up doing this all together as a group. So you can join the link that is in the liner notes as soon as you want to. There is a waiting room, so as soon as we're ready to start the party, we will have everybody come in. And I just want to thank everybody for coming out here. Make sure to like this show, definitely subscribe. I have so much content planned for 2021. It's going to be wild and different than necessarily K-dramas. I might do the occasional drama video because I do still think I want to talk about videos, but I want to come back to North American media and where it's doing it right, because I think that really is important. Nat, what else are you working on for your stuff?
Similar. I'm have to take a break for the holidays and a lot of other stuff that's going on, but like I'm gonna start working on some review videos or like emotionally subjective review videos for dramas that I got into, and I think that's probably a worthwhile use of my time instead of trying to talk about them on Twitter, where inevitably I'm like people are just don't have any idea like why would you like this? Yeah, I'm watching, I'm gonna watch a 50 episode costume drama because there is a lot to be loved about it. So um, taking those and making micro edit reviews of those is my plan. But you can also, of course, find me on Meta Machina. That's my podcast I run. It's on genre fiction about tropes, archetypes, that kind of things from sort of a feminist perspective. And it's METAMASHINA. Follow me on Twitter at Ashes for Foxes, and my link is in the notes there. So I appreciate everybody. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, this has been a blast to do this whole series. I am going to be covering so much more stuff on this channel. I'm still covering, of course, Star Wars on What the Force, the YouTube channel, as well as the podcast. Whattheforce.ca has tons of more content to do with articles and all sorts of stuff. So definitely check out all of my stuff. It is, I think, very valuable to showing why things work, especially for why they work for me. So thank you everyone who's come along with us on this whole show, whether you're here in the live stream or listening to it on the podcast. This has been really fun to do, and I feel very blessed that you've all come out, chatted with us, and gotten us going on this. So we're gonna just take a quick 10 minutes and then we'll see you all at the after party. Cheers.